Hi, it's Katrina. Our planet is on the brink of absolute catastrophe, and no one is ready for what's coming. Not even you. From the aliens bursting out of Area 51 to a zombie plague, a killer army of space rocks, and more, the Earth might be in danger. Area 51's creepy triangle tower. This tower is creepier than you might think. In the sun-scorched Nevada desert where the tumbleweeds roll and the government acts like an ostrich with its head in the sand, there stood a dystopian triangle tower. Not just any triangle, but one straight out of 2020 when all those creepy metal obelisks started showing up around the world. Remember those? This metal obelisk showed up in the most alien place in America. A tall, metallic, suspiciously geometric pillar stabbing into the sky at none other than Area 51. And it's legitimate. Satellite images confirm its presence. In case you've lived in a cave for the last 70 years, Area 51 is the infamous government installation run remotely by the Edwards Air Force Base. It used to be run by the CIA until jurisdiction went to the Air Force. For decades, it's been the hotbed of alien memes, probe jokes, and the place your uncle swears he saw a glowing saucer in '78. Of course, while road tripping in a van with no air conditioning and way too much of the funky stuff. The US government didn't even admit that Area 51 existed until 2013. Yeah, 2013, a year after the world was supposed to end, according to the Maya. We were already on iPhones and binge-watching Netflix before the government reluctantly admitted that Area 51 exists. Like, yeah, we know, guys. And now comes the Triangle Tower. This ominous triangular structure was spotted thanks to a sharp-eyed Redditor who clearly has more time and zoom level than the rest of us. No one knows exactly what it is, but it's enough to make the internet go full tinfoil hat. And I can't stress this enough. The tower is real. Google it, I swear. Some users guessed it's a phased array radar, which is a high-tech antenna that sounds more like something you would use to track incoming missiles or, I don't know, spacecraft? Others think it's just an air traffic control tower with delusions of grandeur. The tower is roughly 155 feet tall, with each side of the triangle measuring 30 feet wide. Some have claimed the tower was built in 2005, but that's yet to be confirmed. Oh, and it apparently rotates around a vertical axis, like a giant sci-fi sundial that maybe, just maybe, tracks alien pizza deliveries. There are no nearby support buildings for the tower. It has no windows or doors. It's just standing there like it's waiting for a mothership to call home. And the government is as silent as a monk. No organization has come forward to clear up the issue and let everyone know what the tower is. But there might be something pretty huge going on in the background. Aviation writer Jim Goodall, a guy who has spent more time decoding military air bases than most of us spend figuring out what show to watch, hinted that the secrets of Area 51 might finally be revealed this year, 2025. But what does that mean? Is there going to be a big announcement? A leak? Or are the aliens coming back? Assuming ancient aliens were real and that our ancient ancestors met spacefaring humanoids, it makes sense that they would return. Perhaps this huge metal obelisk, which appeared so soon after all those other obelisks, has something to do with an imminent alien visit, or maybe an invasion. Either way, I get the distinct feeling we might be in trouble. Or am I overreacting? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Mount Spurr's awakening. Experts agree a volcano will erupt in the near future and usher in the apocalypse. It's not if, it's when. And thanks to some rumblings in Alaska, that when might be right around the corner, and you won't be able to escape. Mount Spurr, that hulking, ice-draped volcano 80 miles northwest of Anchorage, was quietly napping for decades. Most people who weren't a geologist or a doomsday prepper forgot it even existed. But now it's stirring. Not tossing and turning, more like stretching, belching gas, and sending a little, hey, I might blow my top text with a cute volcano emoji to the Alaska Volcano Observatory. In recent overflights, scientists spotted significantly elevated volcanic gas emissions, meaning the mountain has a raunchy case of indigestion, and it might be about to let rip in the most dramatic way possible. Standing 11,070 feet tall with a scenic coat of snow and doom, Mount Spurr has two primary vents. There's the summit vent, which hasn't erupted in over 5,000 years. And there is the Crater Peak vent, a slightly more active troublemaker that erupted in 1953 and 3 times in 1992. Those 1992 eruptions lasted only a few hours, but in that time, ash shot more than 50,000 feet into the sky. Anchorage turned into an ashy snow globe, airports shut down, and the ash cloud floated all the way to Greenland. If Mount Spurr goes full fire-breathing dragon again in the coming weeks or months of 2025, it won't just inconvenience the locals. It could trigger something much bigger, something global. In case you think I'm blowing smoke up your pant leg, let me remind you of the 1815 eruption. Mount Tambora, located in what is now Indonesia, erupted with such intensity that the world dimmed. Crops failed, people starved. The year that followed was nicknamed the year without a summer. And that was in a pre-industrial world, with a population just a fraction of what it is today. Had Mount Tambora blown its top this morning, the situation would be even worse. Today, we've got over 8 billion people on this rock, a much warmer climate, and a terrifying lack of preparation. If a volcano like Mount Spurr or Tambora decides to blow, it could cause global chaos with no plan. What kind of chaos? For those old enough to remember 1991, Mount Pinatubo's eruption dropped global temperatures by about 1 degree Fahrenheit for a few years. But that's nothing. Recent studies of ancient eruptions have shown drops of up to 13 degrees Fahrenheit in some regions. If the world plunges into darkness, that is crop-killing, famine-inducing, chaos-starting cold. Let's say that Mount Spurr erupts like the experts are currently warning could happen. The best-case scenario is localized disruption, ash on your car, and a few grounded flights. Worst-case scenario is that it kicks off a chain reaction of other volcanoes around the globe simultaneously. Suddenly, the whole world goes dark. All crops fail. Cities anywhere, South America, South Africa, begin to starve. And before you know it, humanity has slipped from the age of information back into the Stone Age. Do you think you would survive the volcano apocalypse? I wouldn't. And now for a quick break because it's shout-out time. I want to give a big thank you to Maria Garcia and Sexy Asian for supporting this channel. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and join the Origins Explained family. Why not? Earth is leaking gold. It's not buried in a pirate's treasure chest. It's not stashed at Fort Knox. The world's biggest gold stockpile has been hiding under our feet this whole time, 1,800 miles deep, at the center of the Earth, wrapped in molten metal and hotter than your high school ex who you'll never get back. It turns out over 99% of the Earth's gold is hiding in the planet's core. It's enough gold to cover every inch of land on the planet in a shiny blanket of golden goodness. Imagine trying to mow that lawn. According to new research from Göttingen University in Germany, the Earth's core isn't just a gold vault, but a leaky gold vault. Scientists have just found gold leaking out of the Earth. And while this isn't particularly dangerous, I did want to tell you about it because, come on, the planet is bleeding gold. You can't make this stuff up. Dr. Nils Messling and his team made this sparkly discovery by analyzing volcanic rocks from Hawaii. In those rocks, they found elevated levels of a rare isotope called 100 Ru, or ruthenium. This isotope is a known fingerprint of the core, not the mantle, so finding it in surface lava is a little weird. Dr. Messling said, when the first results came in, we realized we had literally struck gold. But what does this all mean? Can we all be rich now? Not quite. Unless you're planning to tunnel through over 1,000 miles of blazing rock and iron, don't cancel your student loans just yet. Although gold is leaking, it could take millions of years before it gets close enough to the crust to slurp out with a giant straw. Even though you and I won't reap the benefits of a planet leaking gold, future generations might. In the meantime, this discovery changes what scientists thought they knew about the planet. For years, the core was believed to be geochemically sealed off, a no-go zone for anything trying to escape. But this leak shows that the Earth's guts are more connected than anyone thought. It also opens up big questions about other rocky planets. If Earth's core leaks, maybe Mars and Venus have similar deep-buried bling mountains. We just haven't looked close enough yet. The mummy that might kill us all. Not all threats to Earth come from space or fiery mountains. One of the biggest threats to humanity right now is a dusty old mummy with the freaking plague. Deep inside the hushed halls of Italy's Museo Egizio, nestled among linen-wrapped bones and royal trinkets, scientists cracked open a 3,290-year-old Egyptian mummy. And what they found in his DNA wasn't exactly a curse, but it might as well have been. The mummy was infected with the Black Death, as in the bubonic plague. You know, the medieval monster that wiped out nearly 50 million people across Europe from 1346 to 1353. It was just discovered in a human from ancient Egypt's New Kingdom era, more than 1,000 years before scientists ever thought the sickness reached Africa. This is a major bombshell. While the pyramids still gleamed in the sun and pharaohs were still building legacies, a plague capable of global catastrophe was already crawling through the population, and scientists only just found out. But what does that mean for the rest of us today, right now? Is the plague thinking about launching a comeback tour? Archaeologists don't think so, but hey, no one ever thinks the plague is coming back. The research team in Italy used something called shotgun metagenomics to sample the mummy's bones and guts. When they saw the unmistakable signature of Yersinia pestis, the plague bacterium, in both bone tissue and intestinal remains, they audibly gasped. The team unearthed the most notorious pathogen in human history. I sure hope they were wearing protective gear, because if this mummy had been unearthed a few centuries ago without gloves, masks, or containment measures, you bet we could have had a real-life sequel to the Black Death on our hands. The DNA shows the mummy had advanced stage plague, meaning pustules, swollen lymph nodes, internal infection, the works. It also means the disease had been circulating. He wasn't the first to die from it, but he is the first identified victim, which raises the million-dollar question. How widespread was the plague in ancient Egypt? And how many more time bombs are wrapped up in tombs around the world? For years, experts believed the plague slowly meandered from Central Asia along the Silk Road before it trickled into Europe. But this new evidence flips that map on its head. It suggests plague spread in multiple directions, possibly jumping between rats, fleas, and humans along ancient trade routes crisscrossing North Africa. Did you know there have been 3 major Black Death pandemics? The first was the plague of Justinian in the 6th century AD. The next was the most famous, simply known as the Black Death in the 14th century. And the last was the 3rd pandemic, striking China and Mongolia in the 19th century, less than 200 years ago. Now that scientists have proven the plague also hit Egypt in 1449 BC, you can safely say Earth has been terrorized by this virus for 3,500 years. And it's not going anywhere. Yersinia pestis still exists today, right now. It's survived everything humans have thrown at it, from antibiotics to global surveillance. And while scientists have managed to contain it, they have also warned that modern conditions like climate change, population density, and mass travel could give it a new window to strike. Bubonic plague often starts with a flea bite, but with enough cases, it can evolve into the pneumonic form, a strain that spreads through the air like a respiratory virus. If you experience fever, vomiting, and swollen lymph nodes that burst, you probably have the plague. And you may have gotten it because scientists can't help themselves when it comes to unwrapping ancient mummies. Do you think maybe it's time to start letting sleeping mummies rest in peace? NASA spots a rogue black hole devouring a star. When scientists see terrifying things through their telescopes, normally they're happening 600 million light years away in some random galaxy. But not this time. A new terror has been spotted right next door to Earth, and it is not good. Astronomers just watched a wandering, supermassive black hole, a beast about 1 million times the mass of our sun, rip a star to shreds. It was a cosmic spectacle so violent, it made our telescopes flinch. This horrifying monster has been named AT2024TVD, a name as forgettable as the event is unforgettable. The Zwicky Transient Facility, now that's a good name, first caught the scene, which was later confirmed by NASA's Hubble Space Telescope and the Chandra X-ray Observatory. They observed a star get just a little too close to the black hole and promptly be spaghettified. And yes, that is the scientific term. The star was stretched into glowing cosmic noodles and then swallowed whole by a black hole, not even anchored to the center of its galaxy. This black hole is just sort of floating around in space, on the loose, gobbling stars wherever it pleases, like a kid on Halloween night gobbling candy. This is the first time that scientists have spotted a wandering black hole, which is why you're learning about this now. because according to astrophysicist Yuhan Yao of UC Berkeley, this opens up the possibility of discovering a rare population of wanderlust black holes. Or in simpler terms, a black hole might wander into our cosmic backyard and shred us like spaghetti in a meat grinder. So what exactly happens when a star encounters a black hole? Let me break it down. It is brutal. When a star wanders too close, the black hole's gravity stretches it until it rips apart. It releases a massive flash, brighter and hotter than a supernova, as its guts are slurped into oblivion. The energy from this spasm of destruction bursts across the electromagnetic spectrum. X-rays, optical light, gamma rays, enough radiation is emitted to light up half the sky and roast anything near it. And yes, that includes planets. If this happened to our star, Earth would be roasted like a snowball in the oven. What scientists have to do now is start looking at ways to defend our planet from black holes. If anyone has any ideas, I'm sure NASA would love to hear them. Deadly chirping waves. At first, it sounded innocent enough. A soft little chirp in the darkness, like birds greeting the morning sun. But this wasn't Earth's dawn chorus. This was something else, something strange, something deadly. High above our planet, 100,000 miles into space, scientists recently picked up a mysterious signal. Not alien, but not far off either. The sound is chorus waves, a bizarre form of electromagnetic energy that literally sounds like birdsong when converted into audio, except these chirps come with a sinister twist. They can accelerate electrons to near light speeds, fast enough to fry spacecraft electronics and irradiate astronauts. For the first time, they've been found 3 times closer to Earth than ever before. And if you're confused, don't worry. This whole story sounds like some made-up mumbo-jumbo from Star Trek, but I promise you, it's real life. First discovered by World War I radio operators listening for enemy chatter, these chorus waves are short, powerful bursts of energy that ripple through Earth's magnetosphere, which is our planet's protective magnetic force field. Think of the magnetosphere as a giant electromagnetic cocoon. It's what keeps us safe from solar radiation and cosmic nastiness. But chorus waves are rogue disruptions, sort of like blips in the Matrix. They usually appear closer to Earth, within the radiation belts that surround the planet. NASA's Van Allen probes have captured them there for years. These waves are thought to be created when solar particles, high-energy electrons belched out by the sun, get jostled along magnetic field lines. The usual theory says that as these particles spiral along curved magnetic paths, any sudden instability triggers a chorus wave. Think of it like slapping a guitar string and hearing it hum, but instead of music, it's electromagnetic doom. These chorus waves aren't just weird, they are potentially lethal to anything humans send into space. When electrons get revved up to near light speeds, they can damage satellites, disable onboard computers, and pose radiation threats to astronauts. In fact, chorus waves are one of the largest and most immediate threats to humans embarking on space travel. As humans venture farther from Earth, these are precisely the dangers they will encounter. On future missions to the Moon, Mars, or beyond, this kind of high-energy burst could kill electronics, or worse, kill crew midway through a mission. These weird waves won't cause an apocalypse on Earth, but they could cause an astronaut apocalypse. Future bases on the Moon, on Mars, on orbiting stations, all could be at risk because of these strange space waves. An ominous message for humanity. Not long ago in the mist-drenched hills of Buga, Colombia, something weird dropped out of the sky. It was a mysterious metal sphere hurtling through the clouds, zigzagging like a caffeine-fueled hummingbird in a laser maze. Locals watched in awe as this metallic orb zipped around like a UFO and then crashed. These people saw the object and then recovered it. And now UFO researchers are sounding the intergalactic alarm. Dr. Julia Mossbridge, cognitive neuroscientist and UFO expert, is on the case. This all went down in March. Over the skies of Buga, locals spotted a glowing orb pulling aerial moves that would make even fighter jets blush. Not long after, the thing crash-landed and a couple found it. The object, weighing about 4.5 pounds and cold to the touch, looked like it belonged in a sci-fi movie. One of the first experts to get their hands on the orb was David Velez El Potro. He told Jaime Maussan, a UFO investigator and journalist who made headlines claiming to have found alien mummies in Peru, that the guy who originally found the sphere felt sick after touching it. and when Veles poured water on it, the water vaporized instantly. A lot of people suspect this orb is a piece of alien technology, a UFO that malfunctioned and is now locked up so tight it's basically a useless paperweight. The sphere has 3 layers of metal-like material, like some kind of cosmic gobstopper. Inside is a central nucleus surrounded by 18 tiny microspheres. Dr. Jose Luis Velázquez, a radiologist who examined it, noted something super weird. The orb has no welds, no joints, and no obvious signs of human handiwork. This thing is smoother than a buttered dolphin, and it was covered in strange symbols. AI tools were used to try and decode the symbols, but there wasn't much luck. There isn't even any direct proof that the orb fell out of the sky. Eyewitnesses saw what they thought was a flying orb, but their word is the only proof available. Some have said it might be a hoax, but if it is one sophisticated joke. David Velez claimed the government tried to swoop in and take the object, but he refused to hand it over. Meanwhile, Mossbridge and other independent groups like the Galileo Project and the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies are stepping up, trying to figure this mystery out. Was it alien, or was it just our space junk falling to Earth? Is an alien invasion a real, distinct possibility? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below, and hit that subscribe button while you're at it. City killer asteroids. Some threats come with flashing sirens and bold headlines. Others lurk in silence, cloaked in sunlight, quietly stalking Earth from the cosmic shadows. It sounds like I'm describing the Skrull or something, but I'm actually talking about co-orbital asteroids hiding in the shade around Venus. These asteroids are big, with a capital B. They are giant, city-obliterating space rocks hiding out where our telescopes can't see them, and moving on orbits that might one day steer them straight at us. But because of their elusiveness, Earth's astronomers might not know Earth is under attack by space rocks until it's too late, one that could sneak up on our planet. The more scientists learn about Venus's secret army of stones, the more bleak things are looking. Most recently, astronomers discovered a cluster of massive asteroids co-orbiting the Sun with Venus. Some are more than 500 feet wide. That's big enough to wipe out an entire metropolitan area and plunge the world into darkness. Any one of these space rocks is capable of delivering a population-level catastrophe to Earth's front door. What makes them extra terrifying is that we can't see them. Why? Because they orbit close to the Sun from our vantage point on Earth. The Sun's blinding light washes out their faint reflections, meaning that these asteroids can pass through the solar neighborhood completely undetected. For the most part, they're invisible to Earth-bound telescopes until they're right on top of us. Don't panic yet, though. There is hope. So far, scientists have found around 20 of these Venus co-orbitals. Some are known as Trojan asteroids, hanging out ahead of Venus or behind it in its orbit. There's even one charmingly dubbed Zuzvi, a so-called quasi-moon that follows a bizarre loop-de-loop path around the planet. The orbits of these rocks are highly unstable. They don't move in tidy, predictable circles. Instead, they drift, wobble, and get nudged by gravity. And when they get close enough to Earth to be affected by our gravity, that's when things get dicey. Simulations recently run by researchers at Sao Paulo State University tracked the behavior of these asteroids over 36,000 years. The results were surprising. Most stayed in place, but a few wandered dangerously close to Earth's orbital zone, where theoretically they could be pulled down to the planet to destroy everyone and everything. Venus is only 25 million miles away. That's just a sneeze in galactic terms. If one of these asteroids gets bumped even slightly by gravitational forces, it could drift into a direct collision course with Earth, and nobody would know until it's too late. The Doomsday Clock of 2025. Humanity has moved closer to the end of the world again. The official Doomsday Clock is now standing at a terrifying 89 seconds from disaster. Be it a rogue asteroid or a volcanic explosion, the end is nigh. Tick, tick, tick. The Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, the watchdog group founded by the same people who invented the atomic bomb, moved the clock forward in early 2025. Humanity is now the closest it has ever been to the end. Closer than during the Cold War, closer than during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and basically we are less than a minute and a half away, symbolically of course, from the complete collapse of civilization. Scientists are sounding the alarm, ringing bells, and screaming in the streets, we are running out of time. But why? What is happening today that's brought us to within 89 seconds of doom? Honestly, it's a little bit of everything. It seems that all that can go wrong is going wrong. There is nuclear escalation, tension in the Middle East, an accelerating climate collapse, looming pandemics, AI technology going off the rails, and rampant misinformation. Any time in history that truth becomes optional, civilization tends to collapse. We don't see sufficient positive progress on the global challenges we face, warned Dr. Daniel Holtz, chair of the Science and Security Board. In other words, things are getting worse and no one seems to be doing anything about it. Here's a little nugget of information to keep you up at night. The Doomsday Clock was never designed to be this close to midnight. It was created in 1947 as a symbolic gauge of how close humanity is to self-annihilation. It started at 7 minutes to midnight, but in 1991, after the Cold War began to thaw, was moved back to 17 minutes from midnight, the farthest it's ever been. The whole planet's future is ticking away because of what? Stubborn old men clinging to power? An unwillingness of human beings to progress? Laziness? The innate human need to mess everything up, like how we sabotage our own relationships? Or maybe it's no one's fault. All I know is that midnight means the end of a functioning civilization, the end of safety, the end of life as we know it, and it's right around the corner. That is, if the zombie apocalypse doesn't come first. The zombie apocalypse is coming for us. It doesn't bite, it doesn't moan, but it will eat you alive. And thanks to climate change, it's not just lurking in tropical backwaters anymore. It's everywhere. A zombie virus is coming for you, your friends, and everyone you know. But it isn't the typical zombie virus you're used to seeing on TV. This is the fungus zombie virus, known in scientific circles as Aspergillus. It is a microscopic fungal terror found in dirt, compost, air, and now, thanks to a warming planet, inside you. Scientists recently confirmed that this flesh-rotting fungus is on the move, and it is heading for regions where humans thought they were safe. The scariest part is that you probably inhale it every single day and have no idea. Aspergillus spores are all around us. You breathe them in while gardening, walking the dog, or sipping coffee on your patio. Most healthy people brush it off. But if your immune system is even slightly compromised by asthma, long COVID, the flu, or a rough day being human, Aspergillus spores can burrow into your lungs. The infection it causes, aspergillosis, can ravage your lungs and bloodstream, and it has a mortality rate of 20 to 40%. That's nearly as bad as playing Russian roulette. And now the infection is spreading farther, faster, and more silently than ever before. A recent study from the University of Manchester revealed just how screwed we might be as a species. You thought COVID sucked? The 1918 flu? The Black Death? This would be worse. The study showed that by the year 2100, A. fumigatus could expand its reach across 77.5% more land in Europe, exposing millions to potential infection. And A. flavus, the tropical cousin, is making moves into North America, China, and Russia, bringing with it deadly lung infections and aflatoxins, poisons that contaminate crops and cause cancer. This thing can rot your lungs and your dinner, and the situation is so much worse than anyone realizes, except the scientists who are literally trying to warn the world and having their warnings completely ignored. Here are some scary facts. There are only 4 classes of antifungal drugs in the world. Resistance to them is skyrocketing. Diagnosing aspergillosis is so tricky, most cases go undetected until it's already too late. So in conclusion, a global fungal pandemic could be the deadliest thing to happen to humans since the invention of the sharp stick. Elaine Bignell, co-director of the MRC Center for Medical Mycology, warned, "We are wildly underprepared for the fungal future," while Norman van Ryn, one of the study's authors, said, "These pathogens will likely impact most areas of the world." Aspergillus doesn't just kill people, it poisons entire harvests. Crops like maize, peanuts, and rice are particularly vulnerable to aflatoxins produced by A. flavus. This means that food security for millions is also under threat. Imagine watching your lungs shut down and your food supply collapse in the same season, all thanks to some crummy zombie virus produced by a fungus that eats humans alive from the inside out. So what can we do about it? We are dealing with a killer that can't be seen, is inhaled daily, mutates fast, spreads farther as the Earth heats up, and kills slowly, silently, and horribly. Right now, there is no plan. Scientists are only beginning to understand the scope of this threat. While global pandemics have taught us to watch for viruses, fungi have slipped under the radar. And that window of ignorance is closing fast. This isn't fear-mongering, it's fungus-mongering. And the danger is real. If the zombie apocalypse ever comes, it won't be shambling corpses. It will be an invisible enemy that you breathe in your sleep and then wake up as a zombie. I'm not sure which is worse.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to stay tuned for extra content you might have missed.
Frozen pandemics. It's looking like if anything will destroy humanity in the next few years, it's going to be a pandemic. And while the world has already learned what happens when a coronavirus is let loose amongst the population, things could be significantly worse. According to scientists who study glacier ice, they have discovered viruses previously unknown to science hidden inside ice from the Tibetan Plateau. In a report by Forbes, researchers say these viruses are about 15,000 years old and have only survived by being trapped in the ice. And as far as the researchers can tell, they are unlike any other viruses that have ever been cataloged in modern times. These discoveries were made by taking ice core samples back in 2015. The cores were collected at high altitudes, around 22,000 feet above sea level. The ice cores contain all kinds of atmospheric accumulation, including microbes and viruses. Because the glaciers here in Tibet formed over thousands of years, they had a lot of time to absorb dust, gases, viruses, and all kinds of other invisible forces in their ice. But it's not time to panic yet. When scientists analyzed the ancient ice, they found the genetic codes of 33 viruses. Only 4 of them were able to be identified from virus families that we know about today. 28 of them are novel viruses, which we are all very familiar with by now. However, there is no sign yet that these viruses could be deadly, or even that they can survive in our modern environment. But that's not to say another virus accidentally released from a piece of ice can't wipe out all of civilization as we know it. One sound to end them all. Humanity, our planet, and even the entire universe could all be destroyed by one very powerful sound. According to scientists with NASA, the total mass energy of the universe is estimated to be 4.20 times 10 to the 69th power of joules. But according to math, that number is smaller than the energy created by 1100 decibels of sound. When you convert the energy from 1100 decibels directly to mass, it is significantly more than the mass of the universe, 1.113 times 1080 kilograms. And while this may all just be a bunch of science mumbo-jumbo in your ears, let me try to break it down. What all of these numbers mean is that a sound of 1100 decibels would create more energy than there is in the universe. It would result in a black hole, with its radius being larger than the diameter of the known universe. Imagine a bass so powerful that when the beat dropped, a black hole larger than everything in existence opened up and sucked everything into it. That is exactly what would happen if something ever made a sound of 1100 decibels. Of course, this shocking discovery doesn't impact us too much because it's likely never to happen. The loudest sound ever made was just over 300 decibels. And because the decibel scale goes up in powers of 10, the chances of getting anywhere near even 1000 decibels is extremely unlikely. Weird, right? The last asteroid. NASA has finally launched a very real mission to help us deal with the threat of a killer asteroid wiping out humanity. Just a few weeks ago, NASA launched the Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or DART for short. The mission was launched on a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, due to collide with a small asteroid at the other side of the solar system named Dimorphos. This asteroid isn't a direct threat to our planet, but it is a great test subject for seeing just how well the redirection system works. The whole point behind DART is to hit the asteroid with enough force that it knocks it off its track, redirecting it away from the planet. If it's a success, it means we should be able to destroy a killer asteroid in the future, even one the same size as the one that killed the dinosaurs. Dimorphos is pretty small, about the size of one of the pyramids of Giza, but there are significantly larger asteroids out there. A comet was actually just found in 2021 that proved to be the largest in recorded history. It's about 1,000 times larger than a normal comet, discovered by researchers at the University of Pennsylvania. Its body has a diameter of somewhere between 62 and 124 miles. If this thing were headed straight for our planet, it would be just about enough to rip the Earth in half. The boiling star. A shocking new discovery has shown just how our planet, along of course with our civilization, could be destroyed by our very own boiling star. A large star over 700 times larger than the Sun has been found by astronomers. It's called Pi 1 Gruis, and even though it's way larger than the Sun, it has a very similar mass. The thing is that it's much older, and so even though it started out probably the same size as our great shining star, it's now bloated and dangerous. This is what is known as a red giant, or a dying star. For the first time in history, astronomers used the European Southern Observatory's very large telescope to observe the surface of a red giant. They discovered that its surface is made up of convective cells, each one 75 million miles across. Just a single one of these convective cells would reach all the way from the Sun to past Venus. That's how huge the star is. The issue is that Pi 1 Gruis ran out of hydrogen to burn and then stopped its nuclear fusion. Basically, it ran out of energy and started to shrink. This caused the star to heat up to over 100 million degrees. The extreme temperature caused the star to fuse helium into heavy atoms like carbon and oxygen. Its intensely hot core then began to push out the outer layers of the star, causing it to balloon hundreds of times larger than what it originally was. Now, the apocalyptic news here is that when this happens to our own Sun, we will literally be swallowed by it. The Sun will bloat, swallowing Earth into its fiery belly. The coming invasion. More unidentified flying objects have been discovered in the Hudson Valley region than just about anywhere else in the USA. The Hudson Valley is just slightly north of New York City, and it's the UFO capital of the world. In the last decade, there have been over 3,000 extraterrestrial encounters reported. That is a shocking amount of potential alien discoveries. And this isn't a new phenomenon either. Between 1982 and 1986, the Hudson River Valley area saw a massive surge in alien activity. This was shocking because the people who lived here were considered well-educated and well-respected, and thousands of these smart, affluent people saw UFOs, or had some kind of contact with aliens. Some nights in the 1980s, calls to 911 about alien visitors became so frequent that the lines continuously got jammed. In any case, some people believe this has all just been a warm-up for an alien invasion. Thousands and thousands of UFOs in the same place could mean that the extraterrestrials are planning to make their touchdown in the Hudson Valley. And if that turns out to be true, chances are the touchdown won't be a friendly one. They could very well wipe out all of humanity. Slime mold takeover. Slime mold could take over the human race. The reason is very simple. Slime mold is more advanced, more intelligent, and more useful than humans, even though it doesn't actually have a brain. Still, slime mold has 720 sexes, it's able to heal itself in under 2 minutes, even when cut completely in half, and it can remember important things and even solve complicated problems. This is impressive, seeing as, like I said before, it doesn't have a brain. It also doesn't have a mouth or any eyes. But here's the deal with slime mold. Scientists don't really know what it is. They used to think it was a kind of fungi, seeing as slime mold is normally found in dark and wet environments like caves. But now, scientists are starting to think a slime mold is more like an amoeba. It's a single-cell creep that moves by pulling itself along with its gross tentacle-like arms. Plasmodial slime molds in particular are quite threatening to humans because they've learned how to do tricks. Scientists at the National Center for Scientific Research in France taught slime mold to enter specific areas that they would normally avoid because the areas would usually be filled with toxic substances. What the scientists found was that the wisdom was passed on to different cells. This means the slime mold learns and adapts even without a brain. If it ever gets to the point where slime mold can grow itself fast enough, it might just cover the whole world and snuff out humanity. Are you afraid of the slime mold takeover? Let me know how you feel about this exceptionally intelligent slime in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We've got lots more videos coming up. A black hole. A new discovery has shown that a black hole may just destroy our planet and our civilization, and it wouldn't even need to be that big. Scientists say that a black hole just 1 millimeter would rip apart our entire world. That means if there were a black hole small enough to fit on your pinky nail, it could still kill all of humanity. Because, according to Hassam Ali from the University of Leicester, a 1 millimeter black hole still has a mass that's 10% of our own planet's. Its gravitational pull would be so immense that it would cover a third of the world, slowly ripping it apart at about 3 miles a second. Of course, this is assuming that the tiny black hole appears on the surface of the Earth. If it did, its sphere of influence would literally eat the planet a few seconds at a time until just about nothing was left. The good news is that nobody has figured out how to make their own black hole. If some scientist ever does, they'll probably destroy the Earth. The incoming supervolcano. A new scientific study says we are on the brink of destruction, and it's all thanks to a supervolcano. The research was published in the scientific journal Public Library of Science 1. But to understand what the research is talking about, let's take a closer look at supervolcanoes themselves. The difference between a normal volcano and a supervolcano is that the latter is large enough to wipe out every living thing on Earth. An eruption would be devastating. Scientists say that if one of these volcanoes blew its top, it would be so loud that people would hear it all over the planet. Black rain would fall from the sky, the atmosphere would turn dark from so much volcanic ash, and pretty much all life would die. The only thing more devastating than a supervolcano going off is an asteroid several miles long crashing into the planet. Both of these are nightmare scenarios. But supervolcanoes are scarier because we know that there are several of them in the world, and some of them right next door, like the one at Yellowstone National Park. These volcanoes are fueled by impossibly giant magma pools deep beneath the ground. Scientists previously thought that it could take anywhere from 100,000 to 200,000 years for the magma pools to grow big enough to create enough pressure to force an eruption. But the new research is showing that these magma pools may only exist for a few thousand years before they explode. Plus, the reservoir at Yellowstone National Park has been rising at blistering speeds since 2004. What this means is that Yellowstone could literally explode at any second and kill everyone on Earth. Deadly Egyptian curse. When the tomb of the boy king Tutankhamun was discovered in 1922, archaeologists were warned not to open the sarcophagus, lest they wished a terrible curse to haunt them for the rest of their lives. After they opened the sarcophagus of the ancient mummy, many of the archaeologists either died or had pretty miserable lives going forward. Of course, there are probably no sarcophagi that will release a horrible Egyptian curse to wipe out humanity. I mean, it might be possible, but it's pretty unlikely. But microbiologist Raul Rivas believes that it may have actually been fungi that caused the death of some of the people who opened Tutankhamun's tomb. He says a fungus, a species of Aspergillus, could have been living for thousands of years inside the sealed sarcophagus. The spores remain viable for a very long time. When the archaeologists opened the tomb, they unwittingly exposed themselves to the spores, which caused their health to deteriorate, and some of them to die. What's really scary is that if researchers were exposed to a particularly voracious and deadly type of fungus, like the slime mold, they could theoretically spread it across the world, killing everyone. They just haven't opened the right tomb yet. Collapse of time and space. The God particle was discovered by scientists in 2012. At the time, Stephen Hawking said that this particle could potentially destroy the entire universe.
The God particle is known as the Higgs boson, and it shapes and sizes everything that we know of in existence. Now that we have discovered the particle and are learning how to utilize it, we could be opening up a Pandora's box of instability. At the highest energy levels, the Higgs boson particle could cause a catastrophic vacuum decay that would result in the complete collapse of both time and space. It's not clear exactly how researchers could do this. The particle is just so uniquely powerful that it can become wildly unstable at any energy above 100 billion giga-electron volts. What this means is that the particle, when exposed to this high energy, could theoretically undergo vacuum decay. The vacuum would expand at the speed of light, basically erasing all of time and space until nothing remained of the universe except infinite blackness. And all of this could happen, according to Stephen Hawking himself, right here in some mad scientist lab. Thanks for watching. How do you think humanity will be wiped out? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. For more great stuff, be sure to hit the subscribe button and check out our other awesome videos. See you soon. Bye!